and make sure you're working with the office that supports that, because I've seen that that can be a major thing that comes up. There might not have been some communication there. The student doesn't come forward and you have a mess.
Oh, just to jump in, sorry, if we record a Zoom like you're recording now, can we send that to a student?
I think you'll want to double check with folks on campus about FERPA. My understanding is that you can send it to a student in the course, but you can't send it externally from your class setting. But you'll want to double check with folks on campus about what FERPA dictates there.
Okay. But you can send a Zoom recording.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks. Sorry to interrupt.
So yeah, I think having a backup plan for some of these things is really helpful. Another pitfall, I think, is it's not necessarily as much at the instructor level, but just something to put on the radar for Hiram, is there are some colleges and universities and specific programs reaching out to accreditation bodies and coordinating with them, because there are some departments and disciplines that are impacted by that. So nursing is one I'm thinking of. So if you haven't had some of those conversations and thinking about how some of these changes might impact what the creditors are requiring, it's probably good to have someone reach out and be partners earlier rather than later. So that's not necessarily level, but important to keep on the radar.
I'm going to pass around the iPad a little bit to make this a little bit easier, but I'm going to have Lisa jump in and then we will have Judy repeat her question.
Okay. The fact that sessions are being recorded means that we need to make sure that students have agreed to have their images shared. And I'm not sure right now if there's a generic policy on that, Judy, but we probably need one if we don't have one.
I think college relations keeps up on the student roles.
So the students are agreeing to have their images recorded as part of a classroom session and possibly posted online. That's what might be happening here. We need to make sure that we've got that covered.
Yeah, agreed. And I think you have to make sure that whatever the students have agreed to, that people are staying within those boundaries.
Passing it off to Judy here for her question.
Hi, so my question fits a little bit with what Michelle was saying, but what tips could you give to us that we could pass on to the students to help them be prepared for this new mode? For one thing, so I'm working on a document, and one of them is, please check your email, and some basic things. So any thoughts?
One in general is there have been a lot of institutions generating checklists for students. And so if you reach out to, there's an organization called POD, P-O-D, that's been collecting a lot of this stuff. And so they have hundreds of these things. So creating a checklist could be really helpful. Some of the things that I tend to see on that checklist, one is to do some sort of trial run to test for the technology piece. So when you start your online classes, is it next week or the week after?
It will be Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay. Maybe encourage them to test their technology before the first day of class so that if things come up, they can get support and help with that.
We will be hosting a session for students to kind of drop in on Monday and Tuesday into kind of Zoom testing, different things like that, so they can kind of get a feel for what that is with our crew. So students will have the opportunity to do that Monday and Tuesday. So
Great.
If anybody is willing, we are working on that.
A lot of the questions on those checklists to students are also about their skills with time management and organizing themselves, because that tends to be one of the biggest predictors of success or not in an online class, is whether students do well with independent work, and I'm sure folks can predict which students in their class might struggle with this. So the folks that are turning in assignments late on a consistent basis, who might not be good at good communication with the professor, you can expect those types of things to be exacerbated. And so some of these checklists are meant not just to get information for you, but to help the students reflect on what's important in an online class and help set them up for what's to come. So that would be a recommendation, is to look through what's out there and see if there might be something that you can adapt for students at Hiram to send to them.
Thank you. I already found a couple.
We have a question here from David. Hold on just one second.
Well, it's not necessarily directed at you. I would tell you I'm an old duffer and I don't master new computer apps well. I sure would like to have you on my screen, and I don't know how. I've got Zoom up on both of the school's computer and my own iPad. Don't know what I'm doing from there. And a week from tomorrow, I'm to face 21 students, having heard from the dean that what is ideal is to maximize the teacher-student connection. I get that, but I'm really uncomfortable on my end that I'm going to be able to carry my own load without understanding what this is all about. A lot of the faces around this room are a lot younger than me, and I suspect they're more easily able to master new apps. That's issue number one. Issue number two is what Litza raised before. If we are to get the students' approval to go online, when my colleague and I have in-seat classes, there are grade points, both attendance grade points and participation grade points. What do I do if a couple of my students say, here's a way to circumvent that by not agreeing, and don't you dare discount my grade simply because I don't want to go online. That one perplexes me, and I don't know whether there's a resolution for that.
Lisa has something to say under that.
Right, I do. David, thank you. The lawyer would know both the issue and the possible challenge proposed. I think that you simply tell students you don't have to activate your video. Or if you do activate your video, know that if you talk, your face will appear in the window. So
if I do this correctly next Saturday, all 21 students will be arrayed on my computer screen in the corners.
If they'll be arrayed if they activate their videos. Even if they don't activate their videos, you will see that they have joined the class. You'll see their names. They can participate in the chat room. They can speak as long as their audio their microphones are activated. But they
microphone,
yes,
with the green camera with the green.
Right. Okay. So those are two controls that they can manage. They can choose whether or not to turn on their mic. They can choose whether or not to turn on their video.
If they don't turn on their mic, they're not going to participate. And there are participation points.
Okay. Well, then they know that they lose them. If they don't turn on their mic, then they lose the participation points. If they're sitting at an old computer that doesn't have a mic in their home, then they need to be aware. Oh, Judy, they need to be. But they all have iPads, so they all can turn on their mics. They can turn on their mics because they all have iPads. So I think they need to be held accountable. We know that you have the device that will allow you to do this. You can choose not to show your video.
Because it's been distributed by the school.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay.
I did want to raise another question that might be something for your technology folks or your instructional design folks. I know that some learning learning management systems and some tools have limited functionality on iPads and on phones. And so that's something that's important to get that information from the folks who have it and to share that with the faculty.
Yeah, we are aware of those, and we will be making sure that's clear. We're working on everything on that side of the house as quickly as possible. So hold on one second. Vivian has a question.
It's somewhat related. So imagine we have students who say, well, I don't have internet access at home and I couldn't get to anywhere during the class time because I didn't have a car to get to the library or something, and so I missed it. How would it be inequitable to give such students an alternate assignment to do asynchronously?
That's a great question, and that's a big question that people are discussing nationally, is what do you do with the fact that you can't control what students' internet capabilities are at home, and that there may be challenges with access and inequities in that area. And so some institutions have been approaching this as, come up with an alternative arrangement for those folks. Some have been trying to adjust their pedagogical approach so that it doesn't exclude those students. And so I think the idea of an alternative assignment for students that have those challenges is great, but there also is no great answer that's emerged from the US right now, because everyone's trying to figure that piece out. It's the biggest piece. And also recognizing that there are some faculty that don't have the best access. So we just did a survey of our faculty and uncovered it was about 4 to 5% of our faculty don't have the kind of either equipment or internet access that they need to fully do their courses. So as an institution, we're equipping those folks with what they need. But just recognize it's on both sides.
Back to the question about access. Most Ohio libraries have modems that you can borrow. Even if the students aren't, even if the library is closed, this would be a good time to go and check out a modem. And then the other thing is that they have smartphones. So their phone can be a, right. So,
are the students going to be asked to go home, or are they staying in the dorms?
We are allowing some students to stay in the dorms. Right now it's up to, we kind of have let them petition to stay on campus, but that may change. We don't know. It depends on how things go. So at this time, some students will be living on campus.
That might help a little bit of that.
I read something recently, and I want